Tim Dillon, we've talked about it for a long time. It's been very, very clear since 2020. He was leaning closer to wanting Trump to win. When Joe Rogan had Kyle and Tim Dillon on
He's
for
always
election,
been more than leaning, I would say.
for sure. I just mean at that moment it became undeniable. And sometimes people would say he's an independent. That night in 2020 on the episode with Kyle Kalinske, I was like, no, you're a MAGA guy. You want Donald Trump to win. You're pissed that it looks like Joe Biden is going to win. Okay, because you think it's bad, whatever. Very different story 5 years later when we're looking at, ICE agents that are abducting innocent people who are productive members of society are being beaten and abused. We're seeing just an absolute takeover of our country, National Guard. The economy is in the toilet. We're watching fucking, obviously right now we're seeing 3 days of a ceasefire. I hope that holds for as long as possible. I hope the war really is over, but we don't know for sure. And we just watched all kinds of senseless butchering, some senseless violence. Donald Trump had the ability to stop it long before he did. He chose not to. We're just seeing all of these horrible things, not to mention the economy. Beef is more expensive than it's ever been. Groceries are more expensive than they've ever been. We're about to enter an even deeper trade war with China. Things are not looking good. So you're seeing even his hardcore stands, right? The people who we expected to really hold the line for Donald Trump, they're fleeing him, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who in this podcast appearance with Tim Dillon does reaffirm herself as I'm the most MAGA, yada, yada, yada. I stand with the president. I'm not against the president, yada, yada, yada. But rhetorically, she's doing everything she can to distance herself from the policies that Donald Trump is making right now. And I thought that's what made this a really interesting conversation. These are two people who are 100% responsible for the circumstances that we're in now. I guess you can't really call Tim Dillon as responsible as Marjorie Taylor Greene, but he cheerled for this at every opportunity. And now he's going to be so baffled by the reality that we found ourselves in. There's 3 topics I thought we could hit. First off, when they talk about the Epstein files.
Let's take a look.
In terms of what's happening. Why are the Epstein files not coming out?
Mm-hmm.
And why are we unable to pull the plug on some of these foreign entanglements that are costing us billions, if not trillions of dollars?
Mm-hmm. Great questions. I'll tell you, I've been strapped in a front row seat into all of this for about 5 years now. So I'm always a very early indicator. And I think there's a lot. Look, I'm MAGA through and through. There is nobody can challenge my credentials. I mean, I was never a never Trumper.
Right.
I was always 100% Donald Trump, 100% America first. But here we are, and I'm an action person. I'm like, don't tell me you're going to do these things and not do them. And that's what I've always been upset over, right? And when we're looking at...
So it does seem like Marjorie Taylor Greene has really started to get pissed off about the Epstein files. Do you think that was the beginning of this fracturing that we're seeing from Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because she's going to continue to take some, bold positions and some positions that are directly contradictory to ones that she'd taken just a few short years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think she's in the middle of some sort of a transformation. Like she's trying to adapt to the times and maybe position herself for a post-Trump Republican Party, if there ever is one, maintaining that credibility of I actually did care about the Epstein stuff, even when Trump was I guess maybe it is weird because I hate to give credit to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I actually really appreciate what she had to say about the government shutdown. I thought she was on point talking about the, healthcare stuff and how it's ridiculous that we have the government shutdown right now. She was like, I wasn't in Congress during the Obama era. This isn't part of my fucking code to just shut down the government whenever something happens. She's like, why the fuck are we doing this? It's stupid. So I do think she's displayed some decent instincts recently. I also feel like she's trying to kind of have a new image. She seems more put together recently. She's she looks nicer. She looks less just like a ratchet fucking,
crazy haggard QAnon mom.
Yeah,
completely.
Remember when she was called the bleach blonde bimbo bitch or what? Now she looks like she's trying to be more classy, a little bit more sophisticated. So yeah, maybe she's gearing up to try to challenge whoever runs in 2028, challenge JD Vance. I definitely think that if they try to run JD Vance in 2028, there will be a lane for someone else, another Republican, to be no, I'm the real Republican because I fucking hate Israel more than JD Vance does. And I think that's basically what she's doing. She's seeing the popularity of Candace Owens and folks like that and kind of realizing that there actually is a real like she's trying to tap into that, being like, I'm still on the right, but even people on the right, they like to hear criticism of Israel in the context of the whole America First thing, and therefore criticism of Donald Trump. So it seems like that's what she's doing. Who knows if it'll work, but it does seem a lot savvier than the approach of some of her fellow Republican politicians who just think they, will get what they get where they want to get by just like fucking being a pathetic, boring yes man.
100%. She knows how to lie to the American people. She knows what the American people want. And I'll always remember, we were talking to Matt Leck of the Majority Report on our show, and we were getting him to react to some Tucker Carlson bullshit. And he was like, well, right there is how you see this is why they called them the Nationalist Socialist Party, right? These people will rhetorically say a lot of things that are going to uplift the common man. They're going to uplift the working man. But at the end of the day, it's all just moving the ball, right? It's all just a distraction. It's all just, at the end of the day, we are a white nationalist party. We are a Christian nationalist party. And I think that a lot of what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing right now is testing the water to see, would I have success in 2028? Could I assume the Donald Trump mantle? And I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's another good segment for us in this interview to react to.
Yeah, let's take a look. It's also funny to see Tim Dillon just like being like a journalist or whatever. Like he's not even like being a comedian. He's just like asking tough questions and stuff. It's just funny to see him like being so serious.
Yeah, for sure. And he does a decent job, as decent of a job as you would probably expect from Tim Dillon in this.
Oh, I love it. I leave every time we're not.
Do you ever go to Georgia and you leave DC and think, I miss Satan?
No.
Do you a lot of people say you're the heir to the real MAGA and JD Vance is not.
Wow.
A lot of people say that.
Who's saying that?
A lot of people.
That's interesting.
There are people that are saying that. There are people that are saying that.
I like JD.
I like him too. But there are people that are saying that.
What do they mean by that?
They mean that they hear what you say and they gravitate more towards that. And they think that is emblematic of what the MAGA coalition, love it, hate it, whatever, stood for. And that they feel that you have carved out a space where they felt MAGA was about being an outsider, and they feel that you embody that more than he does.
Well, he's vice president.
Right.
Which is a hard role.
Sure.
I mean, it's a very hard role. I think MAGA is about.
Does that surprise you that people are saying that?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Really?
I haven't heard that, but.
Cap.
LOL. As if you're not fucking positioning your whole image for people to say that based on what you're talking about. Like, that's clearly the whole point, what she wants to do. She's like, I'm the real America First. And like, yeah, it is. She's not wrong. Also, like, yeah, it's a lot easier to just say all this stuff and do all this stuff when you're fucking representative and not the vice president, when your whole job is basically to protect and defend and be the attack dog for the president of the United States. So, who knows if she actually were to be in a position like that herself, if she would behave any differently. There's a good chance that she would just be behaving exactly the same as JD Vance if she was in that position. But one thing I will say is that, regardless of her ideology, she definitely looks more like the next Donald Trump. She literally looks like the female Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? With that like goofy, like blonde, like bleached hair and the orange skin. She literally does look like a younger female version of Trump.
No, I think she is cut from the same cloth, right? The fact that she is shamelessly herself, the fact that she did rise to politics by buying into all of the QAnon stuff, there's gonna be an effort to revise this woman's legacy. We have to remind everyone who she actually is, because she's trying to disguise herself, right? She loves to run her mouth and talk about, and I'm glad to hear it, right? Because I want everybody to come out and oppose this ethnic cleansing, this slaughter of innocent people that is right now on pause, but could resume at any minute because of the fucking bloodthirsty Israeli regime. She was, in the aftermath of October 7th, censuring Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian American in Congress. She was calling her an anti-Semite. She was saying that she was supporting Hamas terrorists. She was leading resolutions that would 100% run cover and defense for Israel. That's 2 years ago. This is a woman that's been in Congress for 3 terms now. Okay, so she spent the first half of her time in Congress absolutely shilling for Israel, right? She got a bunch of flack for the Jewish space lasers comment that she made back in the day. And so she donated a tree and did all of that kind of stuff. But she also laid in traffic in the aftermath of October 7th and called basically said every Islamophobic trope about anybody who had any remotely positive things or supportive things to say about the Palestinian people. That is her legacy too, which is why I know this is all a sham. It's all an act, but I don't think that means it won't work. And my follow-up question for you, Gavin, is will the first woman president of the United States be Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible. It'd be glory if it's AOC versus MTG.
In 2028?
A rehash of their, infamous beef from when, Marjorie, for when they both first showed up in Congress, and there was a lot of
Did
cat
MTG
fighting.
get in there in 2018?
What?
Was that 2018?
I don't remember exactly what year it was.
Oh,
honestly, but I just remember there was a lot of cat fighting between the two of them when they were, first, sharing Congress together and all that stuff. They were going at it and all that stuff. But either way, that would be glorious if she ran and AOC ran. I don't know. I mean, yeah, Marjorie's interesting. I do think that one thing she has on other politicians, maybe you disagree with me, but I do genuinely feel like, as Rise Better said, she speaks for racist rednecks. I do feel like she's better at speaking for a lot of her constituents because she actually was one of those people. I know she had a business or whatever. It's not like she was poor, but compared to some of the other members of Congress, she does feel more authentically someone that comes from a MAGA community, someone that speaks that language. I mean, as we always reference with the Jewish space laser thing, a year before she got elected, she was literally just a MAGA mom on Facebook spreading deranged conspiracy theories. This is not someone that really seemed to have all that much political ambition before she just decided to run for Congress. She didn't spend her whole life preparing for this. She doesn't sound overly scripted. So I don't know. Compared to some of these other people in the Republican Party, she does seem more authentically like one of the voters and less like someone who's just pandering to the voters. But I don't know. We'll see if she's able to continue that.
No, I agree with that. And I think a part of that is the fact that people who are disappointed and let down by Donald Trump might attribute it to the fact that he was a billionaire, that he was a rich guy, that they put a lot of their trust and a lot of their faith in him because of the attributes that he shares with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and probably also because they thought that his billionaire prowess would be beneficial for the country. He's going to, deal with the debt and he's going to make the economy go up because he's a businessman. I'm sure there were people that believed that at one point about Donald Trump, but surely they're not going to believe that anymore. I mean, he's tanking the economy. Everything's more expensive. The value of the American dollar has fallen 10% while he's president.
I mean, I think there's a solid percentage of the Trump base that will literally never abandon him.
Oh, sure. But I do think that they would also potentially get on board with somebody who offers tepid criticism of the things that he does. And I think having somebody that you mentioned that comes off like a Facebook mom does assuage some of the fears that they're going to be bought off by the billionaire interest because they're one of the elites and they're not one of me. I think it's easier for Marjorie Taylor Greene to sell that she is one of them because she kind of is.
Yeah, 100%. She speaks their language. Again, it doesn't really seem like she panders to them as much as she just is one of them. And again, I know she's a millionaire, all that stuff. I'm not saying she's literally a fucking, there's a stupid fucking poor redneck down from Georgia. I'm not saying that, but she definitely comes off more like a real authentic MAGA American. So who knows? But yeah, it's interesting to see her take this tone in the Tim Dillon podcast. Not really defending JD Vance all that hardcore, not really defending Trump all that hardcore, and in many ways adding to the chorus of criticisms.
Yep. And then there's one more timestamp I wanted to get your reaction to, Gavin.
These raids, because I think there are a lot of people that go, we want a border, we need a country, and that certain people also need to be deported. Absolutely. But when people see children being zip tied or a grandmother being zip tied, and these are people who've maybe lived in a community 30 years and they're not committing a crime, they're here illegally, we know that. To me, you see a lot of people that are, more moderate types, people like myself that very much want a border and a country.
Right.
But I look at, showing up to a high school graduation and deporting someone's father. I go, this seems to a lot of people to be inhumane.
Yeah, that's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love Laken Riley's mother and sister,
of course,
and her family.
Yeah.
And so I have to say, oh boy, do I want to deport any illegal criminal like that?
Right.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific. And having a secure border, oh hell yeah. unapologetically.
Yeah.
Yes. Immigration laws, you have to follow our immigration laws. Those are our laws.
Right.
Me and you can't go to, say, Mexico or Colombia or Brazil, and we can't overstay
Right.
our visa
Right.
and not expect to get arrested and deported.
Right.
Like, that's just facts. However, let's be in reality for a minute.
Yeah.
The reality in America is, for decades and decades and decades, it's been whatever administration turned a blind eye. Even Ronald Reagan
Yeah. Big time.
changed it.
Big time.
My goodness.
But
California.
that's what's crazy. One of the things about Ronald Reagan is it was actually because he was such an evil, brutal capitalist. He was like, you know what? Let's open the fucking border and let's let cheap labor in to exploit the American working class and make sure that they don't bitch and moan about any kind of inflation or the jobs not being too good. That's fine. We'll just let these desperate people from another country come in and devalue your labor. So that was Ronald Reagan's theory.
Yeah, that's why there's that clip of Bernie Sanders out there being like, we cannot be in favor of open borders. It's a Koch brothers policy. It's a pro-capitalist corporate policy to drive down the wages. Like, there is a genuine left-wing critique of that, which is why I think that if these people were serious about securing fucking good jobs for Americans and stuff, they would go after the people employing the illegal immigrants, not the undocumented people themselves. Totally innocent folks just trying to feed their fucking family. It's not their fault, obviously. If you were starving and your family was starving, you take any job you could get to feed them. But if you really want to prevent that from happening, yeah, you should go after the corporations. You should go after the fucking employers that are firing all their American workforce so that they can hire undocumented people at a much lower rate.
100%. So anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene mostly just gish gallops and like hand waves away and talks about how obviously it's sad when people get caught up in the system, but we have to have laws and borders and whatnot. But I do think the fact that question was asked, the way that Tim Dillon phrased it, these are two MAGA believers. These are people who from 2016 on, they definitely wanted to be a part of the movement that Donald Trump was creating. Tim Dillon thought there was an epic lane for his comedy there. He was right. He's built his entire comedy career, publicly at least, in the Trump era. Marjorie Taylor Greene, it goes without saying, she's always been a lifelong Trumper, or at least her political life. She came into the party post-Trump, all that jazz. Even they're having to say, we know this is really unpopular. We have to do something optically about it. There's still nothing but coal in their hearts, but optically they understand from a political perspective, it's a disaster.
Yeah, 100%. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to escalate this attack on Donald Trump, her criticisms of Donald Trump, if she really does try to start positioning herself as an alternative to J.D. Vance in the next election cycle. I'm kind of glad she's doing it, though. Again, I hate to give credit to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not trying to go all Cenk Uygur and be like, isn't this amazing? Like, it is mostly political opportunism, but there's a lot of Republicans who they just seem to, their whole strategy is like, I must fall in line behind Donald Trump. And I do appreciate that Marjorie is like, nah, I'm going to fucking position myself to take your ass on, or JD's ass on, instead of just being the number one fucking sycophantic ball licker. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, completely. And I hope that the left is so embarrassed. And I hope that Democrats are so embarrassed that for one moment, even as a total farce, even as a sham, as a lie, they have allowed Marjorie Taylor Greene to get to the more moral position than they have been adopting. They have allowed Marjorie Taylor Greene to come out and say, hey, this is what's right and this is what's wrong, in a way that a lot of Democrats have been too tepid to do when it comes to atrocity like
even fucking
Israel,
some of the
Palestine.
squad members. Like, some of the squad members are literally voted for the Iron Dome shit. You know what I'm saying? And Marjorie was like, we should not give another single fucking cent to Israel. It's like, sham, bro. I hope this isn't coming just from a place of anti-Semitism, because you're kind of spitting.
Right, exactly. And just recently she talked about how inflation was going out of control and that people can't afford to eat anymore, and that we keep sending all of this money overseas to Israel, and yet people at home are starving. And now the tariff situation's only made things worse. So obviously she is not willing to be an authentic solution to the problem, but she does understand that where the American people are is so far away from where they were 11 months ago in November of 2024 that she has to adjust her rhetoric. And it's also something I think that is indicative of the fact she's a House representative. She has to run for re-election pretty much all the time. You get re-elected, oh, guess what? You have to run for re-election again. She has to have her thumb on the pulse of her base. She has to understand, oh no, guys, that's not the direction that things are going in anymore. This is what I'm hearing from my people, because I want to get reelected. I do not have a safe seat in Georgia. Maybe she has a safe seat in Georgia, but maybe it's not safe from a Republican primary.
Were
Whatever.
people saying that there was like redistricting that was going to happen, and that's why she was like trying to maybe position herself for a governor's run?
Interesting. I wouldn't even be shocked if she still last minute goes for a governor run. She could probably fucking do it after I found out that what's his fake is termed out. Brian
Yeah,
Kemp.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, because people were talking about that at one point. You know, her running for governor, but I do think she should participate in the 2028 primary if she wants to. I don't see who else would have a better chance of like unseating the Trump appointed successor, assuming it's not just Trump again, which God forbid. But like, say they really do run JD Vance, like that is a much easier to win primary than a lot of Republicans are probably thinking. If you're another ambitious Republican, you have to run in that fucking primary, no matter what Trump says or no matter what he threatens to do to your career. If I was Marjorie, I would be fucking salivating at the opportunity to take on JD Vance, one of the least charismatic, biggest fucking pussy pieces of shit out there. And obviously she could just grill him on everything that he's been silent on or been complicit on. It would be kind of glorious to see. And I can't really imagine anyone else doing it. Like, all these Republicans are such pussies that I really can't imagine any of them else just like being like, fuck you, Donald Trump. Like, I'm going after you. I'm challenging your boy. Here we go.
I think that there is a chance. I don't know. Maybe Gavin spoke that into existence and it's going to happen now. But if it does happen, I have a very hard time believing that she would lose. I have a hard time believing that in a race where Donald Trump stays out of it and JD Vance.
The thing is, though, Trump would not stay out of it. He would be campaigning just as hard as anyone else for whoever he wants to win.
No, that's true. I just mean if it's not him. I meant stay out of
Right.
it as if he doesn't run. Because I think that Marjorie could buck. I don't know if she could buck Trump like that. I think that she could potentially like catch Trump playing both sides for a long time because he doesn't want to pick somebody that loses, because that would be embarrassing for him. But I wonder, it does that, like, who would beat her on the Democratic Party if, God forbid, Gavin,
If it came to a general,
if Marjorie Taylor Greene got the Republican Party nomination and Gavin Newsom is on the other side of the ticket, or Josh Shapiro is on the other side of the ticket, like, it becomes a way closer race than I would ever have imagined. And to be honest, until this live stream today, I wasn't really thinking about Marjorie Taylor Greene 2028. But I do think that it's not something we have to be like 1,000,000% concerned about right now. But it's something I'm keeping my eye on. It's something that I'm like, the Democrats have to have somebody that can come to fucking play. They have to have somebody that can get in the pit and brawl. They have to be willing to call a spade, rip Donald Trump to shreds, talk about the failures of the past, paint a picture for what's going to be different. And there's a short list of people in the Democratic Party that I think are prepared to run and capable of doing it.
I actually think you're overrating her powers a little bit. Like, I think she's a strong Republican candidate, like within her lane. But as far as like a general election candidate, I think she brings too much baggage to the table. She has too much of what people don't like about Donald Trump, but not enough of the quote unquote celebrity and credibility that Trump brought to the table when he ran in the first place. Like, imagine if Trump was the exact same person, just as unhinged, but instead of having been on The Apprentice and instead of being this billionaire icon of success, he was just some random ass fucking guy from Georgia. Like, I honestly don't think he would have got as far. I think a big part of Trump's appeal is his celebrity, his icon status, the fact that he was on The Apprentice, that everyone knew his name and equated him with entrepreneurial success. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think that, you know, she represents a lot of what people like about Trump. But again, she doesn't have any of that credibility. And it's one thing to get in the House of Representatives to really genuinely convince people that you're ready to be commander of chief and you're just like some crazy ratchet bitch from the South. Like, it just seems a little bit.
I'm glad you talked me off the ledge. I started really spiraling for a second. I was like, she's been on Tim Dillon. She's going everywhere. She was on CNN talking about dead babies and how it's horrible. I don't want people to fall for it, guys. That's where I'm coming at this from. I do not want people to fall for it. And I just don't want anybody to underestimate the fact that this lady, I think, is going to be here to stay politically. Like, I thought for a while we were going to be able to brush aside MTG.
She's kind of the AOC of the right. I mean, we can't deny it.
And I think AOC could be president one day. And so I'm just thinking, like, if she did just map it out like crazy, she gets the governorship of Georgia and then immediately tries to leverage that into a presidential run, I just think she could do a lot of fucking damage. And I think that it's something that we should consider, because I think JD Vance is a very beatable candidate. in the Republican primary. And I think the best case scenario for the Democrats is if he gets the nomination. But I just worry that the Democrats bungle this, put up somebody who's not up to the job that they think is what the American people want in some middle of a road, somebody who agrees with Donald Trump half the time or some stupid shit like that, and not somebody who wants to oppose Donald Trump with every ounce of their soul, which is what the American people will be looking for.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.